give you this award. And I thought, this is great. And I went home and I told Ashley, I said, I want an award. It's a good award. She said, what is it? I said, well, it turns out I'm really good at having a disease. I'm like, awesome at Parkinson's. So, yay, Parkinson's. This is my first award. Because I'm good at having Parkinson's. And I know you can relate. Some folks say I can laugh about it. I have to laugh about the disease all the time. I just have to laugh at it. I take it quite seriously. But I have to find some humor in it, or I really struggle getting through it, like I'm sure a video of you do. I was sitting at home in 2020 in the middle of COVID, and I had some physical difficulties, but they're all tiny. And so I did not put A and B and C together. But in 2020, I was sitting around and I had a Mac laptop, and it was closed. And it was sitting on my lap, kids were watching TV, and I was playing air piano on the laptop. And everything I could do with my left hand, I couldn't do with my right hand. And I didn't know, well, that's weird. And I started doing this with my fingers and this with my fingers, sitting there, this could play and this couldn't. This was like in molasses. I thought these fingers are gummy and gooey and they won't move. My brain was telling them to move, but they won't move. And I didn't think that much of it. I thought it was a pinched nerve. And I was walking like many people during Parkinson's. During COVID, this hand kind of quit swinging on me. This hand was swinging, way. This was just, and I noticed that I would pivot. My fingers just started doing this all the time. That's really, really odd. When I would try to run and get super active, some of my vision would get odd, and my eyes were having trouble focusing. And so all this stuff wasn't adding up, but otherwise I felt pretty good. And I didn't know what was going on. And then finally it kind of culminated. You remember this? That was back when you couldn't go anywhere, but I run the church, and so I snuck up here with my kids, and we broke in the gymnasium to play basketball, because it was in the middle of COVID. And we played basketball, me and my two boys, and we had a free throw contest. And I missed 10 in a row, and they weren't even close. And I've been playing basketball my whole life. And I'm not very good, but I've never missed 10 in a row. And I thought, well, that's just odd. And so I told my kids, I said, I'll feel very good, we're going to sit down. And so I did, and I went home, and we were done. And I told Ashley, I said, there's something not right about my body. And I don't know what it is. She said, well, go see the doctor. And so I did. I went to see my doctor, Amy Anderson, who's the best doctor on the planet. And I said, Doc, I have a pinched nerve. What are we going to do about the pinched nerve? She said, you don't have a pinched nerve. I said, what do I have? She said, well, I don't know. We're going to put you through a bunch of tests. And so when you've been through that journey, you start taking a whole bunch of tests, and I culminated with the DAT test. And my wife and I were driving out to my son, who was going to go, he was at Shelton Academy at the time, and they had just built a brand new building, and they were having a grand opening. Still in COVID, so things were a little bit limited, but we drove out to see and tour the new facility for my son's school. And the phone rang, right, we're pulling in the parking lot of the school, and Dr. Anderson came on, and she said, well, all the tests came back, and you have Parkinson's disease. And I was like, no, what about the pinched nerve? It's like been gay or something wrong there. And she said, no, you have Parkinson's disease. And my son, who's going to look at his new school for the first time, was in the back seat. And I looked at my wife and asked her, she's like, she knew it was a doctor, and she said, what? And I just crawled like that. And she started crying, and I grabbed her and I said, don't cry. And so we went to the school, and I just told her, I said, whatever we do, stock it up, because we're going to tour. We're here for Luke, and we're not going to get distracted with this. It's just tours. We toured the building, and all I'm thinking about is, Parkinson's disease. And they're like, look at this fabulous new theater. And I'm like, yeah, that's where I have Parkinson's disease. And, this is our scientific laboratory. I'm like, yeah, that's where they discovered that I had Parkinson's disease. And I was like, oh, it's horrible. But I was still in kind of that denial phase. I didn't really know what Parkinson's disease was. I thought it was an old person's disease, and I thought if it got really bad, you'd be like Michael J. Fox. Those were the two things that were going through my head over and over and over and over. And so, like many of you, I'm sure, I hit the old Google, worst mistake ever. And Google starts telling me all the things about Parkinson's, and you don't want to hear, you don't want to know. And then I finally went to several different neurologists to figure out what we were going to do about it. And then I had a big decision to make. And that was when I discovered I really was sick. I really did have Parkinson's disease. What do I tell the church? And I had a lot of advice about that. And I had a lot of people that were mentors to me for a long time, and really, really smart people that I consider the smartest people in the room. He said, unequivocally, do not tell anybody. Never let them see the sweat out of you. And I understood that. But I said, no, I'm not going to do that. So I shot a little video. He said, hi, everybody. How are you? I have Parkinson's disease. Stop. But I just told everybody because I thought, I'm not going to be ashamed of this. And I'm not going to hide it. And that's your own choice. Everyone has their own choice to make on that. But that was mine. I just thought I would be public about this for two reasons. Number one, I don't do very well with secrets. You know, I don't want to live with anything in here that I can't just kind of share out there. And the second thing was I thought I've got a platform and I can somehow maybe talk about this. I don't know what that looked like yet. This is in 2020. But I want to somehow help people with this. And so let's just get this thing out. And I told the congregation. And the people in the church could not have been nicer and kinder and more gracious and honorable. And if you have Parkinson's, you will know that everybody on the planet has an idea for you to get rid of Parkinson's. And that comes from a very special place. That comes from the heart. I'm not making fun of it at all. But they will tell you, if you go home today and eat 10 watermelons, it's gone. And, or 17 oranges, or whatever it is. And I got a lot of books. People are always reading books. But the congregation is so wonderful. And this is last Sunday. Last Sunday, I have a gentleman that I just adore. He's a big client at the Cougar Miss. He's there every day. And he came down from between the middle of the services. And he said, hey, there's two drugs that they are showing have great results for Parkinson's. And I called my name and I said, look, thank you. I've got to preach in like 5 minutes. So just write them down because I'll forget this. Write them down. And after the service, come over and tell me what they are celebrating. And this is on Sunday. And so after I preached and after the service was over, he brought me a bulletin. I opened it up. It was like, the academy goes to, and it said on there, it said Viagra and Cialis. As God in my lips. And he had his name, and he said Viagra and Cialis. And I thought, actually, would rather me have Parkinson's. We didn't discuss it at home. But I just say that because it's part of the journey. I mean, this is part of the journey. You encounter people that want to help, and it's such a mystery, and that's part of the disease. And that's part of the frustrating part of the disease because you don't really know what works. And so you wake up every day and you crawl in bed and think, let's go with this thing again. Let's wrestle this bear again. And I've got a bunch of symptoms that are hard to tell. Dr. Cooper said, I can't even tell you how. If you hang around a lot, I got really bad triggers in my right hand. They go crazy. My right side is way off. I do Pilates 3 days a week. And when I do that, and it isolates certain muscle groups, I can tell immediately. My right side just doesn't function like my left side does. And I have all the mental stuff, all the apathy. There are days when I don't want to go to work. And I think, I can't do this even. Why? I don't know why, I just can't. Are you stressed out? No, I just can't. And you get exhausted and you get tired. So thank you to all the caregivers. Because my wife is a prima and my family have been helping me. And it's hard, not just on the patient, but on the caregiver. There's a mystery to this thing. And it's got a mind of its own, and everybody's case is a little bit different. For some it's physical, some it's mental, some it's all the above, and you don't know our cure, so you're reaching for this cure, and you're trying to do this, and you're trying to do this, and you're hoping that things work, and you read all the latest information about new things. I will go today and read about Ozempic, and figure out that, we do that stuff, but it's a grind. And so I empathize and sympathize with you. The empathy probably is about all I have to offer. I can tell you a couple things in my life that have helped me through this process. I never counted on having a kind of an incurable degenerative disease. We just don't plan on that. And so, okay, what do I do now? But this is important to me. You didn't come here for a Bible lesson, but I'm going to give you one again. The 45th chapter of Isaiah. And I will give you treasures hidden in the darkness. Secret riches. I will do this so you may know that I am the Lord. And the thing that's helped me a lot is I look for treasures in the darkness. I just believe that. And I have to carry that scripture with me every day. Because we're trained to believe that treasures are found in the light. But treasures are not always found in the light. There are treasures in the darkness. But you have to look. Your radar has to be up. I can tell you that treasures are found in the darkness. If you don't believe me, reflect on what you did a couple days ago. nobody paid any attention to the sun before 2 days ago. At all. We just take it for granted. And that big old orange peace and glory and miracle will just be there every day. We don't pay attention to it until what? It went dark. And you think, God's beautiful and God's majestic and what an artist. Look at that glory. We're all around the world, and for 4 minutes at a time, people are together with a shared experience, and they're not so hostile. No one lasts 4 minutes, but that's a treasure in darkness. And that's the way it's just been for me in Parkinson's. I have a good friend, Kenneth, is his name, and I play vinyl records. I love vinyl records. And so if any of you are putting controllers away, do not. And my buddy Ken Reiser called me. He was one of the first people to come see me when I was at Parkinson's. I took about 30 days off just to kind of regroup myself and get a new rhythm of life going. And he said, I got something I want to give you. He brought me over a crate full of 140 vinyl records. And for 30 days while I was off work, I bought a record cleaning machine, and I meticulously took all these vinyl records, and I had a bunch from my youth, and I was trying to repopulate the ones that I had lost over the years, but I didn't have very many. And when Ken brought these over, they were his treasure, and he gave them to me, and I spent every single day, often literally 8 or 9 hours, meticulously cleaning every record, and reading the liner notes, and getting up, and listening to them from A to Z. And it started for me a rabid addiction to vinyl collecting. And it came out of the darkness of being in my house in my pajamas for about the 3rd straight day, thinking, I can't believe I have Parkinson's disease. And now it's one of the greatest joys of my life. And that absolutely would not have happened. And that's a treasure in the darkness. Ashley calls them junk in the living room. So I want to encourage you to know that when it's dark, there is a treasure for you to be found. I cannot tell you what it is. I don't know if it's going to be relational, or if it's going to, you're going to stumble into some kind of thing that's going to help or reduce some of your symptoms, or whatever it is. There are glorious treasures to be found in your darkest moments, if you will. I promise you. And I believe that because it's not me telling you that, I think it's of God. The second thing is, I just decided no resentment. People ask me a lot, particularly because of what I do for a living. You ever get mad at God? Not for 1 second. Not for 1 second. I've been sad. I don't want it. But I've never been mad. I'm telling you, I've been visiting hospitals for 25 years. And I've seen a lot of sickness in a lot of different forms. And anger and resentment are the worst enemy that you can have when you're fighting for your health. And you can get mad if you want, but it's not going to help. And it will destroy you to your core. And so I decided I wasn't going to do that. And I've seen burn victims and people with cancer and ALS and some horrible things. And there are 2 categories. There are 2 categories. There are those who say, I'm going to have a good attitude about this. The attitude's not the cure, but I'm going to have a good attitude about this. And there are those that don't. And they say, I'm going to be mad every day at God, every day mad at whoever or whatever. And my heart breaks every time I encounter someone that has a growing attitude. And so I decided I was going to have a great attitude. And if it helped, that was going to be really good. Because I just believe in my heart that anger and resentment deplete you of all the tools that you need to fight the disease. And this is true, by the way, if you're in here and you don't have Parkinson's. Right? If you're in a divorce or whatever. Anger will deplete you of every tool that you need to live a fruitful life. And to fight whatever it is that you're fighting. But Matthew 5 says this: He, God, causes the sun to rise on the evil and the good. Well, there it is. God causes the rain to fall on the just and the unjust. And so there's a part of me that says, I represent God, and I should never get this disease. That's just not the way that it works. In the New Testament, in Luke, there's a thing called the Tower of Siloam. And it's a big tower outside of Jerusalem, and it falls, and it kills 18 people. And the 18 people that it killed were worshiping. And so the Pharisees go to Jesus and they say, well, explain that, how. And Jesus says the same thing. The rain falls on the just and the unjust. They died because they were underneath the tower when it fell. And I had Parkinson's because of my DNA or hardwiring or whatever. Whatever it did. And that's why I have it. But it's not a curse. And it is what it is. And so let's get after it, and let's not be resentful. That's the second thing. The third thing that I found helpful to me, and this is so cliche,
But the more I try to help others, and I'm not perfect at that, and I got some shortcomings on that, but the more I try to help others, the more benefit that I receive in return. Man, when you lock in and you're just all about you, and I got to figure out this disease, that's one way to go at it. But when you really reach out and try to help other folks that are dealing with this thing, that's the golden ticket, I think, for feeling better. And that's the starting place. And so I try to be as available as I can, because I've learned so much from people that have Parkinson's before me, and they help me. And information is the currency of hope. Right? We need information. And we assume, no offense, that doctors have the market cornered on information. They do not. They're wonderful. We can't live without them. But I had a physical therapist named Kathy Thompson come to my house about a month in, and I learned more from Kathy Thompson in 45 minutes than I did from 4 neurologists in all their wisdom. Wow, because she was at the street level working with you all and people and saying, this is how it goes and this is what you can do. And just that someone came to my house and just shared with me that information changed more than all the medical stuff that I was dealing with. And I thought, oh, wow, maybe as I discover information, I can share that too. Maybe when I can only get the neurologist, and I know why, to talk to me for five minutes, I can get someone else that's walking through this dark journey to come to my house and talk for a couple of hours. And so when the phone rings here and they say, hey, I hear you have Parkinson's, I always try to take the call and stop what I'm doing. The secretary here, who's the best, and has got me going in this whole process, knows that. If somebody reaches out and says, man, they got Parkinson's, I say, get them on the phone, let's stop everything else. Because that sharing and that community is really, really important. The last thing is socialization. I just hope no one here today feels like they got to do this by themselves. And it's a dark place if you're by yourself and you're on a lonely journey. That's what I think is so wonderful about DAPS. It not only is it a source of great information and resources, but it also facilitates the interaction and socialization of people that are really struggling with this. And so I had people talk to me about sleep patterns, and people talk to me about, here's the deal with exercise. It's not exercise, it's medicine. And they said, if you had diabetes, you wouldn't just arbitrarily take your medicines if you felt like it. You would take it on schedule, right? Treat exercise the same way. Every day, get up, do your exercise. It's like taking a pill. Oh, I never thought of exercise that way. That was just somebody like you that's going through it that said, this is going to help me. And when they framed it that way, I thought, oh, I got it. And so I started doing all these things, Pilates and walking. And I guess like people, I back off or I'll miss a week and I think I don't want to do this anymore. But then I don't know, that's my medicine. That's my medicine with that and the sleep. And what I want to tell you before we go is that, and I really do mean this. I got diagnosed in 2020. 2020 and 2021 was arguably the best year of my life. The best year of my life. Well, how? Psychologically, spiritually, physically, relationally. I got closer to my wife, I got closer to my family. Spiritually, I started engaging things that even though I preach about it from the pulpit every single week, might not have been paying attention to myself. And I thought, oh, that's a tool that I need to employ myself rather than just tell other people about it. So my spiritual life went this way. Psychologically, when I overcame the denial and the reality that I really did have Parkinson's, and I started sleeping and exercising and doing all those things, I thought, wow, I feel better than before I had Parkinson's. How does that work? Does that mean that I'll have Parkinson's? No. But I'm telling you, 2020 and 21 for me was one of the best years I've ever had in my life. Because of the way it oriented me, reoriented me to the things in life that are important. Simplicity. Taking part of your schedule is just going to stress you out and eat your lunch. And I know that's easier for some people than others. But to really focus on the inherent values in life that are important and maybe not all the stuff that you thought was important. And so I had this cleansing process throughout the whole year. Why? Because I got Parkinson's. So, I get up every day. I have no idea how this thing's progressing in my life. I have no idea. I tell people all the time, it's good today. I don't know if it'll be good tomorrow. But as long as I can keep moving around, and as long as I can keep talking, I called the Voice Project. The Voice Project. So anybody do that? Anybody know about that? Yeah. It's a great program. Everybody said Richardson Voice Project. So I called him and said, hey, I got Parkinson's. I need a voice project. And they said, what do you do? I said, I'm a preacher. And they said, shut up. You don't need us. They're like, you do what we would tell you to do. Stand up and project. And they said, call us in like 20 years. And so I don't know where this thing is headed, but I can tell you, I look for treasures in the darkness, and I find a bunch of them. A bunch. And I'm real hard not to get angry or resentful, and I'm committed to try to help people that are discovering this journey for themselves. And I'm very, very grateful for the church and for the people that do what they do to support me. A couple people real quick that were done. I do want to thank Mr. McBride and the family of the kiddos. They've been unbelievable. It's really hard on you guys, on families. I know that. They know that. And so I'm real grateful for that. Miriam, my assistant, she just knows. And if I look like I don't have Parkinson's, it's usually because Miriam has made it look that way. It's public for me. And she's really, really good. My buddy Pat Wallace called. I didn't know what to do. I tried boxing, the non-contact boxing, and I did that for a while. We had the mirror thing, a little trainer pops up in your room. And I do that. I may go back to that. But I tried Pilates one time in my life. And my wife was doing it. I remember this place called Pilates Bar. And she said, why don't you try Pilates? And I said, okay, I'll try Pilates. So we got up on a Saturday morning, and she had food poisoning or something. She said, oh, I can't go, I'm real sick. But we already paid for it, so you should just go. And I just went. Huge mistake. And I went to the Pilates bar, and they put me on this machine. It looked like a torture chamber. And there's me and about 15 beautiful young women from SMU. And I don't know how to do any of the exercises. And so they're going, okay, downward barking dog, silver seal, So I'm looking around to figure out how to do the exercises, and there's nothing but girls in yoga pants. And I went home, I said I would never do that again. I'm sure I'm on some registered creepers list now. And I said, my friend Matt Wallace called me and said, I hear you bombed out at Pilates. I said, Daddy, well, I've got an instructor, it's just me. Why don't you come join us? And I've been doing it now for 4 years because of my buddy Pat Wallace, and it's one of the greatest things that I've done. Amy Anderson is the greatest doctor in the world, and I hope you have good care. However we are on this journey, I hope you have good care, because that's important. And finally, the people of Highland Park and Methodist Church has just been so incredible. And I'm honored that they let me be the pastor of Parkinson's and all. But really fired up about DAPS and everything that you guys have going. And we as a church, I want to help any way that we can. And I, as a Parkinson's award-winning Parkinson's patient, I want to help any way that I can. And so God bless all of you in your journey, and I want them to find